The President of the European Commission, José Manuel Barroso, travelled to Strasbourg on Tuesday to attend the plenary session of the European Parliament. Addressing the parliamentarians on the outcome of the European Council meeting held in Brussels the week before, he said that the European Union strengthened confidence in its financial stability and stepped up further integration in the euro area. He welcomed that this summit saw EU leaders agree to adopt a legal framework to set up a single supervisory mechanism by the end of this year, mainly based on proposals by the European Commission. According to President Barroso, the new banking supervisor would send an important signal to investors and the EU's international partners. He also insisted that the Compact for Growth and Jobs, adopted last June, must take shape in reality and not remain just an idea on paper. He urged member states to reach agreements swiftly on the Commission's proposals on saving and energy taxation, public procurement reform and venture capital, amongst other things.
Last week I urged the EU's government to do their utmost to bring the Compact on Growth and Jobs to life. Likewise, I count on this House to assume its responsibility and to play its part in finalising legislation on its elements. Let us demonstrate to our citizens that Europe carries a message for growth and jobs. When talking about growth, it is clear that the financial sector must also make a fair contribution to the recovery. I welcome in particular the recent progress on the European financial transaction tax. Following the request we have now received from 10 member states, this very afternoon the Commission will make a proposal for a Council decision authorising the enhanced cooperation. This will be the first step in the process. We will also present an action plan on tax fraud and tax evasion, including tax havens, before the end of the year. I also want to confirm to you that following the adoption of the employment package, the Commission will before the end of the year introduce a youth guarantee scheme. It will aim to ensure that young people within 4 months of being unemployed or leaving formal education are presented with either the offer of a job, continuing education apprenticeship or a traineeship.
On Wednesday, the President embarked on a 5-day visit to West Africa to show Europe's support to the development and stability of the region. During his visit to Côte d'Ivoire, President Barroso met with Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara. He recalled the European Union's full support to the government's efforts for national reconciliation and economic recovery in the country, mobilizing more than €430 million since April 2011. He also promised that the EU will continue in this effort in the coming years to help the Republic of Côte d'Ivoire become a pole of stability and growth in the region. He added that the country should continue with democratic dialogue for the restoration of rule of law and the fight against impunity, stressing that the country plays a pivotal role in the stability of West Africa. He also encouraged greater regional integration in West Africa to foster peace, stability and prosperity. Barroso and Ouattara, who is also the current chairperson of the Economic Community of West African States, also discussed the role Ivory Coast could play in the resolution of the current crisis in Mali and the political uncertainties in Guinea-Bissau after its military coup in April 2012. Later on, the President met with representatives from the opposition, calling for national reconciliation and stressing the need to establish impartial justice and restore security, which are two tasks still facing the government since the arrest of former leader Laurent Gbagbo in April 2011. A few hours later, on Thursday evening, the President arrived in Cotonou, Benin, for a first official visit. Welcomed at the airport by Benin's Prime Minister Pascal Koupaki, President Barroso met with President Yayi Boni, who is the current chair of the African Union. The two leaders discussed the bilateral relationship and reinforcement of the cooperation between the EU and Benin. President Barroso raised concern about the latest developments in Mali, whose northern regions have been controlled for 7 months by Islamists. The European Union is in close contact with other countries in the region, the African Union and the United Nations in discussing the response to the unacceptable situation. We are currently developing some plans, including how to ensure that there is a republican, credible army in Mali and the restoration of the rule of law throughout Mali, including northern regions, he said. During his visit, the President inaugurated a new library named after Jean Monnet, built by the Zinzou Foundation, whose creation was co-financed by the European Union. The foundation, supported by the EU, is strongly involved in promoting public reading in the country. President Barroso concluded his travel to West Africa by a visit to Cape Verde, where he met with the President Jorge Carlos Fonseca and the Prime Minister José María Neves. The President's visit coincided with the 5th anniversary of the EU-Cape Verde Special Partnership. Cape Verde is currently the only country in Africa that has concluded a mobility partnership with the EU. This was strengthened during the visit by the signature of an agreement on visa facilitation, which will further simplify travel between Cape Verde and EU countries. On Saturday, and after a visit to the EU headquarters in Praia, President Barroso went to the National Assembly, where, in addition to meetings with the President of the Parliament and the leaders of the two parliamentary groups, he addressed the chamber on the reinforcement of the EU-Cape Verde relationship and cooperation in the fight against drug trafficking.